Hey everyone, it's Majumdar,
Hey everyone, it's Nisa Amoils.
and today we wanted to talk a little bit about why each of us got into the Bitcoin blockchain crypto space. So Nisa, when did you first hear about Bitcoin, blockchain, and crypto, and when did you become like personally really invested in the space?
Sure. So I heard about it in probably 2014, 2015, and I was working in venture capital, investing in disruptive tech. And fintech was one of the verticals we invested in. And I just kind of fell down the rabbit hole with it. And then I had a legal background as a securities lawyer, so I didn't participate at all in the ICO boom. And in retrospect, I think that was probably a good decision. But as security tokens started becoming more popular, that was an area of the law that I really knew and understood. And so it made a lot of sense to me, the tokenization or fractionalization of real assets. I thought that that made it more accessible to more investors, to a wider group of investors. And initially that was accredited investors, but there's been a lot of push to make it available to unaccredited investors as well under certain exemptions from registration. So for me, that represented an opportunity for underserved people to get access to deals that they would not otherwise see, and for companies to get access to capital that they would not otherwise have. So it kind of opened up fundraising beyond the traditional venture capital model.
Mhm.
And the traditional venture capital model still to this day provides female founders with 2% of all funding. And to me, this would be an alternative way for females to participate in what is probably the biggest wealth creation opportunity of our lifetimes, and not to have miss out on it again like they did in traditional technology sectors.
Mhm. Yeah, it's really interesting when you talk about the securities and the fractionalization perspective and wealth creation. I think the wealth creation aspect, it did kind of draw me in. I first got involved in the space in 2017, which I think goes for many people who got in the space. But I think I'm still in, unlike probably a lot of the people that got in around that time. I think it was in fall of 2017 when the price started to really like rise. I just kept hearing about it, and then a friend of a friend was who lived in Oregon, I think like in the woods, just very like off the grid. He was really into it, and he offered to come over and walk us through how to create a wallet and how to invest and put some money into Bitcoin. So that was just the beginning. I didn't really. It wasn't until like a little bit into 2018 when I really started to think more about it from a technical or philosophical perspective. Because, and by then, like all the gains it had made in the end of 2017 when it hit like $20,000 for one Bitcoin, all of that had just, I don't remember what it was, but like sometime in mid 2018, it definitely wasn't anywhere near that. But there's something about already having gotten into the space and learning about the technology behind why it was started, when it started. I had no idea when I first got into it that it started right like around the recession of 2008 and Satoshi Nakamoto writing the white paper that came out shortly after that. Um, so I kind of just I don't know why I decided to start reading about it because I could have just pulled out it wasn't a huge amount of money by any means, but I could have just decided to take all that money back into fiat. But I didn't, and I just started reading more about it and really got into reading Andreas Antonopoulos and the Internet of Money. volumes that he's written, and really the argument about how many people there are in the world who are unbanked, don't have access to banking or checking accounts because they don't have an ID. And when that's somewhat unfathomable for people, I think, living in the US, to realize that there are individuals who have no access to that type of money. And it's and yet when you look at the number of people who do have access to smartphones, I mean, when you see the difference, you can just see why a technology that could be leveraged just with an internet connection could be so powerful. And honestly, I think getting involved in the space really made me start thinking more about what I believe, what I think about centralized power or decentralized power. And I think maybe around that time, it may have been a little bit after, but the Cambridge Analytica scandal and surveillance and data. What are all these companies doing with all the data they have, and how much do they have exactly? I think even though blockchain and Bitcoin technology is not private, I think that's something that's not as well talked about, that it is in fact traceable. Sorry. But kind of escaping the sovereign system, maybe not completely, but a little bit, I think that really appealed to me. And honestly, I think the fact that I don't understand it completely, and it's just fascinating to me. I don't know if you're like this, but I will continue reading the white paper. I'll still go back to a lot of the very more basic, like, philosophical essays on Bitcoin and crypto and blockchain, and really try to absorb it from a different angle. And sometimes I read them and it feels like I'm reading them for the first time.
Yeah, no, you raised so many good points there. I mean, first of all, the wealth creation opportunity for women, it is so important, I think, for women to invest in this sector and participate in what will be the eventual upside of it. And also, I think it is a learner's paradise. I think for people that just love to discover new things, this sector touches on so many different other sectors, philosophy and politicism and socialism and just so many other variables that come into what is money. What is money? Only something that is backed by gold, like the dollar, or is it just an exchange of value? And as we saw with the creation of the internet, a lot of the power and money went to the big tech companies. And so a lot of people who first envisioned the internet didn't want that to happen, but it happened. And so when we think about Web 3.0, what is the next thing? It's the internet of value. It's the internet of trust. We are in a crisis of trust, and trusting mathematical equations to a lot of people seems preferable than trusting the politicians. So I think that ideology goes into this. I think, the more women, people that understand that, the more they'll be interested in this sector.